What's going on, guys? Welcome to the video. Tommy Robinson yesterday decided to salt mine Ramona tears from politicians and hard left Twitter activists when he came out in support of Boris Johnson winning the next election. Within moments, nearly every Ramona from Land's End to the Shetland Islands was foaming at the mouth because, as you all know, the mainstream media, politicians and woke Twitter snowflakes hate Tommy Robinson more than they hate Brexit, possibly even more than they hate Trump and Boris. Regardless of your personal feelings towards Tommy Robinson, it is undeniable that the political elite, media hags and left-wing Twitter activists love a good Tommy Robinson smear campaign. So him making this video yesterday backing Boris Johnson, that was recorded and uploaded by RT, was always going to cause a storm. So let's check out the video, then we will take a quick look at a Mirror article and some of the tweets from these Ramoning crybabies.
Boris Johnson. And everyone should vote for Boris Johnson. And I think that I'm so happy with what Nigel Farage's done. Nigel Farage should attack the Labour heartlands. He should attack the Labour heartlands. And if we want Brexit, if we believe in democracy, we have to have Brexit. So yeah, go Boris.
Now, like I said, that was always going to give us a reaction from the Ramona politicians, which is always a good laugh, especially when you get the Corbynated chicken weighing into the debate because he thinks Boris should distance himself from Tommy Robinson's endorsement, despite the fact that Corbyn himself has endorsed some of the most despicable people the world has ever known, to the point where he even calls them friends, as is now common knowledge, along with inviting them to the House of Commons. And let's not forget the time he's being elected as the Labour Party leader was endorsed by Nick Griffin, former leader of the BNP and the only other party besides Labour to be investigated for racism. Oh, and not stopping there, he also got a glowing endorsement from a former KKK chief, who also backed Corbyn's victory. Hardly smelling of roses now, are you, Jeremy? But let's be honest, former Labour MPs have also called out the Corbynated chicken on television recently. So to be honest, if Boris Johnson invited Tommy Robinson to number 10, he still wouldn't hold a candle to Corbyn when it comes to hosting people the mainstream media consider deplorables. I mean, the terrorist Corbyn calls friends make Tommy Robinson look like the fucking Teletubbies when you take into account what the media actually consider Tommy Robinson the devil for. Apparently, calling out groups of men who prey on children makes you the devil, but killing innocent people makes you the friend of Jeremy Corbyn. Which, if you ask me, the media seem to give Corbyn an easy time about his connections to these terror groups and their members. Like, in the media's eyes, Tommy Robinson is worse than an actual terrorist. I guess most of the media support Labour, so we should not be surprised at all, really, should we? Like I said, though, it wasn't just the Corbynated chicken screaming from the rooftops. We have some other Ramona MPs in an absolute meltdown because Tommy Robinson has backed Boris to win the general election. We had the Lib Dems Tom Brake and Chuka the political hooker complaining on Twitter about this endorsement for Boris Johnson, with Chuka tweeting this: "The fact that Tommy Robinson has endorsed Boris Johnson following the Farage-Johnson pact tells you all you need to know about today's Tory party. Hard right, populist and nationalist. Ugly, nasty politics." Clearly forgetting there is no Farage-Johnson pact. Farage stood down candidates, Boris did nothing. But calling Boris Johnson's politics ugly is a bit rich, coming from someone who has been at more political parties in the last year than times he's actually stood for election. And after winning his seat in 2017 on a manifesto that said we would leave the EU, ditch the Labour voters ob stretum so he could flip-flop between three parties in as many months before finally landing at the undemocratic party who want to outright revoke the decision made by 17.4 million British voters, in direct contradiction of the manifesto he was voted in on under Labour, while denying the people of Streatham the right to decide if he should have continued to sit in his seat in a by-election. As a matter of fact, given he has moved constituencies for this election, I would suggest he knew the people of Streatham likely think he is a traitor for ditching the party that they voted for and joining nearly every other party in the United Kingdom. Who knows, maybe next year he will be an SNP MP. But the real peach in these tweets was from the leader of the Liberal Democrats, Jo Swinson herself, who has such disdain not only for Tommy Robinson, but for his right to even vote or give an opinion in an election campaign. Because of course we know that Jo Swinson wants to silence the voices she doesn't agree with in true Lib Dem authoritarian fashion. This undemocratic spunk trumpet wrote a letter to Boris Johnson, which is being reported in the Mirror and Huffington Post, among others. Now, the Mirror, it seems, are incensed that Boris Johnson has not rejected this endorsement at the time of recording, and Lib Dem leader Jo Swinson felt she had to write a letter to Boris Johnson complaining about this endorsement, stating that Tommy Robinson should not be allowed to voice his opinion in politics, which shows what we could expect should she ever become Prime Minister. Luckily, there is more chance Tommy Robinson becomes Prime Minister than Jo Swinson, if you ask me. So let's see what the Mirror has to say, which contains extracts from Jo Swinson's letter. The article headlines, General Election 2019. Boris Johnson fails to disown endorsement from Tommy Robinson. Earlier yesterday, Tommy Robinson gave his backing to the Prime Minister, and the Lib Dems called on him to publicly reject it. Now, we don't need to read this bit because we obviously heard what Tommy Robinson had to say in the video. But we will read here what the Mirror have writ, because this is like the mainstream media, something they always do. Robinson, whose real name is Stephen Yaxley Lennon, because I suppose that matters why, made the comments outside the High Court, where he faces a libel claim over a comment he made online about a Syrian refugee attacked in a school playground. He denies the claim. But the point of reading that not was the reason he's up in court. It doesn't surprise me they got him up in court. They love to take this guy to court. My point is they have to bring up his actual first name like it matters. Knowing, of course, he called himself Tommy Robinson so that people wouldn't use his name. It's just scummy behaviour by the Mirror. Nothing new. But this is what we really want to look at. Jo Swinson wrote to Mr Johnson to ask him to publicly reject the endorsement. But contacted by the Mirror, a spokeswoman for Boris Johnson declined to comment. Miss Swinson wrote, Stephen Yaxley Lennon, also known as Tommy Robinson, today encouraged people to vote for you in the general election. Because, my tears cry more, who cares, you fucking idiot. She adds, there should be no place for figures such as Yaxley Lennon in British politics, and his endorsement should be an anathema to any candidate seeking to improve the lives of people across the UK. Now, I don't know about you guys, but to me that sounds like Jo Swinson is saying that a British citizen doesn't have the right to voice his opinion in a British election. That is incredible, especially coming from someone who claims to be the leader of the Liberal Democrats. But we all know the Liberal Democrats are not liberal and are not democratic. They're as authoritarian as Stalinist Russia. But what she means is, because he has a public platform and is known around the country, he should not be able to say anything about who people should vote for. Why is that? You've been running around telling people to vote for you, telling them not to vote for Boris. So why can't he do that? What's the difference? At the end of the day, he has every single right to be involved in British politics. Your opinion of him is irrelevant. He has the right to be involved, he has the right to vote, and he also has the right to give his opinion on who people should vote for. As to whether they listen to him or not is entirely up to them. The same way as the people who vote for you. It's entirely up to them if they vote for you. But I find it absolutely disgusting that she can sit there and say there should be no place for figures such as Yaxley Lennon in British politics. Like, how can you say that? Why has he got no right to say anything in British politics? I don't think he's running in this election campaign, is he? I'm not entirely sure. So he's not involved in politics, he's given his opinion to his followers and to the news media who are following him around because he has a court case on. Like, you have absolutely no right to say that he shouldn't be involved in British politics. In my opinion, you shouldn't be involved in British politics, but you have every right to be. Even if you want to go against the democratic wishes of 17.4 million people, you still have the right to be involved in politics if you want to. You know, choice. You can do what you want. Luckily for us, we still live in a society where you can kind of do what you want within reason. We know if you get in power, that will be swiftly ended, the same as with Labour. But anyway, I've had enough of talking about this. These Ramonas moaning about Tommy is nothing new, but I just thought it was rather funny that Corbyn had the cheek to say something, and of course, Swinson decides that Tommy Robinson shouldn't be involved in British politics because she doesn't like him. Fuck off, you dopey bin. Now, before I go, I want to thank our channel's PayPal, Patreon and Subscribestar members for supporting the channel, along with everyone who watches my videos. Remember to let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. Leave a like, subscribe with the notification bell and share this video as it helps the channel a lot. And I will see you all in the next one.
This Parliament is a dead Parliament. It should no longer sit. It has no moral right to sit on these green benches. They don't like the truth. Twice they have been asked to let the electorate decide upon whether they should continue to sit in their seats, while they block 17.4 million people's votes. This Parliament Parliament is a disgrace. But they're too cowardly to give it a go. But the time is coming. The time is coming, Mr. Speaker, when even these turkeys won't be able to prevent Christmas.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors, slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires, and that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going, and we are glad to be going. We're off.